They're good.
Clean up your act.
Cobra is one of the wildest action movies of the 80s, and today we're breaking down 20 weird facts you didn't know about Sylvester Stallone's cult classic. Fact 1. Cobra exists because of Beverly Hills Cop. Stallone was originally hired to star in Beverly Hills Cop as a tough detective named Axel Cobretti. But Stallone hated the comedy tone and rewrote the script into a grim, violent action thriller. He removed jokes, added a giant car chase, and even turned the final shootout into something resembling Rambo. Paramount panicked, realizing Stallone's version would cost a fortune and alienate audiences. Stallone quit, Eddie Murphy stepped in, and the role became Axel Foley. But Stallone recycled many of his unused ideas, like Cobretti's last name, his take-no-prisoners attitude, and his obsession with cool one-liners, into Cobra. So, in a strange way, Eddie Murphy's comedy classic spawned Stallone's darkest cop fantasy. Fact 2. Cobra was officially based on a 1974 crime novel called A Running Duck by Paula Gosling. Stallone's script borrowed the broad outline of a cop protecting a woman from assassins, but almost nothing else. Gosling later said she barely recognized her own work in the movie. Ironically, her novel was adapted again in 1995 as Fair Game with Cindy Crawford and William Baldwin, this time sticking closer to the source. But that film bombed hard, leaving Cobra as the only lasting pop culture imprint of her book. Fans sometimes joke that Cobra is the most extreme book report ever written. Fact 3. Stallone controlled everything on set. He wrote the screenplay, decided what scenes stayed or went, and essentially directed large chunks of the movie himself. George P. Cosmatos was the credited director, but multiple crew members confirmed he mostly deferred to Stallone. Cosmatos would set up shots, but Stallone dictated how they played out. Actors said Cosmatos rarely gave notes, while Stallone micromanaged every detail. It was the Stallone show from start to finish, which explains why Cobra feels like a vanity project wrapped in gunfire. Fact 4. That control extended to bizarre on-set rules. Extras and even supporting actors were told not to speak to Stallone unless he spoke to them first. It wasn't a studio mandate. It was enforced by Stallone's entourage. The atmosphere was tense, with Stallone treated like a general on the battlefield. Brian Thompson, who played the night slasher, said the hierarchy was obvious. Stallone was the star, and everyone else was background noise. Fact 5. Not everyone played along. Cinematographer Rick Waite clashed with Stallone repeatedly. One day, Stallone complained that the production was falling behind schedule. Waite snapped back that if Stallone stopped fondling Brigitte Nielsen between takes and showing off to his bodyguards, they'd be on time. Stallone was stunned. Nobody usually challenged him like that. For a few weeks, he behaved better before drifting back into old habits. Waite later said Stallone strutted around like a rock star and spent more time posing than rehearsing. He also said Cosmatos was a nice guy but a terrible director, and that Stallone effectively ran the film himself. Fact 6. Stallone's distractions weren't just personal. During the filming of the night slasher's climactic monologue, Stallone vanished from the set. Brian Thompson delivered the biggest speech of his career while staring at a script supervisor instead of Stallone. Only later did he find out Stallone was in his trailer watching a Lakers playoff game. Thompson said it was frustrating but also hilarious in hindsight. Imagine pouring your heart into a villain role while the hero is cheering basketball off camera. Fact 7. Casting the night slasher took persistence. Brian Thompson auditioned 7 times. Stallone kept rejecting him, saying he was too nice-looking to be a maniac. On his final try, Thompson snapped during the audition, screaming his lines with such intensity that the casting staff was terrified. That raw energy finally convinced Stallone he had his villain. But once cast, Thompson got almost no guidance. When he asked Stallone about the character's motivation, Stallone shrugged and said, "He's evil." That was it. Thompson had to invent his own menace. After filming, Cosmatos told him he could have been better if he listened more, leaving Thompson baffled because Cosmatos never gave him any direction at all. Fact 8. Early drafts were even stranger. The night slasher's real name was Abaddon, borrowed from a demon in the Bible. Stallone also planned a huge twist. Detective Monte, the smug cop who constantly undermines Cobra, was secretly the leader of the cult. In the scrapped ending, Monty would attack Brigitte Nielsen's character, only for Cobra to gun him down. The twist was dropped, leaving Monty just an annoying pencil pusher. Fans still debate whether revealing Monty as the mastermind would have made the cult scarier or just sillier. Fact 9. Entire sequences vanished in editing. The opening was originally set in a movie theater where a gunman would slaughter dozens before Cobra took him down. There was also a backstory where Cobra mentioned a girlfriend murdered by a psychopath, explaining his hardened personality. Another deleted set piece showed Cobra and Ingrid hiding on a boat before cultists attacked them on the water. These scenes were either shot or at least prepared, but Stallone and the studio cut them to streamline the movie. Without them, Cobra's motivation is never fully explained, and the cult remains vague, which makes the final movie feel thin but relentless. Fact 10. The finale wasn't supposed to happen in a steel mill. It was supposed to be a motorcycle chase through Seattle ending on a ferry. Stunt crews had prepped for weeks, and money was already spent. But Stallone hated the idea of filming outdoors at night with swarms of mosquitoes. He demanded a change. The entire finale was moved to a Los Angeles factory, saving Stallone from bug bites, but wasting a lot of planning. The result is the fiery industrial showdown we got, which looks iconic but was never the original plan. Fact 11. The first cut of Cobra was so violent it received an X rating. The MPAA demanded trims. Among the cut material, a victim with hands chopped off, a child delivering a box of severed hands to the police, longer autopsy shots, and extended gore during the night slasher's death. In one version, Cobra impaled him with a hook and shoved it in deeper again and again, while the camera lingered on the wound. All of that was cut to avoid an X. The released film is still brutal, but nowhere near as savage as Stallone originally intended. Fact 12. Timing also killed the longer version. The rough cut ran over 2 hours, but Top Gun opened just 1 week before Cobra. Warner Bros. And Canon Films panicked. They wanted Cobra short enough for theaters to fit in more showings per day and compete with Top Gun. Over 30 minutes were chopped, leaving a lean 87-minute runtime. Much of the lost material was character development for Ingrid and side cops, which is why the movie sometimes feels like it's missing pieces. Fact 13. Fans have reconstructed some of this lost footage from scripts and production notes. The cult originally had more scenes showing them at day jobs like construction and welding, only to reveal they were killers at night. There was a longer hospital massacre sequence and a boat attack that never survived. The factory fight was more graphic and drawn out. None of this has been released. The mythical X cut is still locked away, and fans continue to run petitions begging Warner Bros. To release it. To this day, it's one of the great lost treasures of 80s action cinema. Fact 14. Not every weird moment was violent. One character quirk that made it through editing is Cobra's pizza scissors scene. He opens a pizza box, grabs scissors, and snips the tip off a slice before eating it. Stallone said he wanted to show Cobra as disciplined and precise, even when eating. But audiences just found it bizarre. Why not use a knife? Why not just bite it? The pizza scissors have since become a meme, symbolizing Cobra's mix of macho cool and absurd detail. Fact 15. Stallone also made sure Cobra's car and weapons stood out. The 1950 Mercury coupe he drives was his own car, polished into a movie star. To keep it safe, 3 replicas were built for stunts, including the jump off a parking garage. His main pistol was a Colt Gold Cup 45 with custom Cobra grips and a high-tech laser sight. In 1986, laser sights were military tech, rarely seen by the public, so it looked futuristic on screen. The Night Slasher's knife was hand-forged by designer Hermann Schneider, with holes in the blade and spiked knuckle guards. It became one of the most famous villain weapons of the decade, and replicas are still sold today. Fact 16. Cobra crushed at the box office. It cost around $25 million and earned $160 million worldwide, making it Cannon Films' biggest hit. It opened on more screens than any Warner Bros. Film at the time, but critics savaged it, calling it mean-spirited and shallow. Rotten Tomatoes sits at 18%. The Razzies nominated it 6 times, and Stallone won Worst Actor. Still, audiences loved it. Cannon bragged that Cobra's profits paid for several smaller films in their lineup. To this day, it's considered one of the most financially successful bad movies ever made. Fact 17. Over time, Cobra developed a rabid cult following. What critics saw as trash, fans embraced as pure 80s excess. The sunglasses, the matchstick clenched in Stallone's teeth, the car, the weapons, and the one-liners all became iconic. "You're the disease and I'm the cure" is still quoted. Today, Cobra is treated like a time capsule of 80s action, so over the top it circles back to brilliance. Midnight screenings, Blu-ray releases, and online memes have kept it alive. For many fans, it's the ultimate guilty pleasure. Fact 18. Cobra has influenced pop culture in surprising ways. Director Nicholas Winding Refn cited it as a major influence on Drive. Ryan Gosling's toothpick chewing habit in Drive was directly inspired by Stallone's matchstick chewing in Cobra. In Beverly Hills Cop 2, Judge Reinhold's character has a Cobra poster in his room, a meta-joke acknowledging Stallone's original connection to Beverly Hills Cop. These tributes show how Cobra's neon-soaked, ultra-violent style seeped into later movies. Fact 19. A sequel never materialized, but it almost did. Stallone envisioned Marion Cobretti as a recurring franchise hero. Ideas floated included Cobra fighting international terrorists and leading his zombie squad team in bigger missions. But Stallone's messy personal life and the movie's negative reviews killed the momentum. Decades later, Stallone revealed he tried to reboot Cobra as a streaming series about the zombie squad, with Robert Rodriguez interested in producing. As of now, it hasn't happened, but Stallone still insists Cobra was a franchise that should have been. Fact 20. Stallone himself has admitted regret. He called Cobra half-baked and said he wasn't concentrating enough when making it. He admitted he should have directed it officially and polished it into the franchise it could have been. Fans still hold out hope for an extended cut or a streaming revival. Until then, Cobra remains what it is. A one-of-a-kind action time capsule. A film born of 80s excess, shredded by studio edits, dismissed by critics, and reborn as a cult classic, loved by fans who can't get enough of its absurd, explosive style. And those were 20 weird facts you didn't know about Cobra. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Stallone's most over-the-top cop movie, subscribe to Pure Action Films for more explosive facts about the greatest and strangest action movies ever made.